Hey everybody, how's it going? This is John Breeden. It is March 4th, 2019. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is behind us. Another triple header weekend is in the books, the third race of the 2019 season. Truck race on Friday night, won by Kyle Busch, going back to back in the Truck Series, getting his 53rd career win at his home track, I might add. Kyle Busch would then run the Xfinity race the next day and would also win that race, his 93rd career Xfinity win. We had the Cup race on Sunday, of course, at Las Vegas, the Pennzoil 400. Only two cautions in that race, the two cautions for the stage breaks, and the race was won by the defended champion, Joey Logano, taking the Pennzoil car to the win in the Pennzoil 400. Team Penske would come home with a 1-2 finish. Joey Logano was his 22nd career victory in the Cup Series and his first win of his title defended season. A little depressed here today. Obviously, as you well know, Las Vegas came in with big expectations this weekend after what we saw in practice in the Cup Series. We saw those guys out in qualifying and out in practice pretty much running like it was Daytona or Talladega. They were packed up and, well, I mean, not really packed up, but they were running very close together. They were drafting with each other on a 1.5-mile racetrack. So, obviously, the big build-up to this race was, well, we're going to see that in the Cup race, right? And we didn't see that, but I think, to me, and I might be in the minority here, but I think the Cup race, I thought it was a pretty good race. And a lot of people are not going to like that, but I thought it was better than last week. And, I mean, we got a really good finish out of it. You know, last 35, 40 laps are pretty good between Logano and Keselowski battling for the lead. Harvick was closing in on him at one point. I thought it was a great ending to the race. And, I mean, a pretty wild finish, too. I mean, Brad Keselowski gave it his all right there at the end of the race. Got right up behind him. Looked like he could have made a move. Didn't make a move. He even said in his interview he was a little too nice to Joey Logano. So all I saw about this was the negativity about, you know, I've been on Twitter during the race, and I saw tweets like, snooze fest, or this race is boring, or just simply, hey, what's with this package, so much for closer competition. And here's the thing, I gotta level with this here. This race, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and read these two tweets just to set the tone. Michael Waltrip, after yesterday's race, sometime last night, tweeted, this was a direct tweet, I say stop harping on 2019 rules. They are 2019 cars, not rules. They're awesome, powerful, aerodynamic. Enjoy them. Atlanta and Las Vegas, the past two races, of course, the closest 1.5-mile track finishes in the last 29-mile-and-a-half track races. That's 2 in a row. It'll only get better. Of course, this is excluding the Chicagoland finish last year, which was not a close finish, but it was a wild finish. So, I mean, with this, I mean, Michael, he's got a point here. Now, you may argue that, you know, no, the racing was not close the entire day. It was not a bumper-to-bumper, side-by-side race the entire time. So, I mean, you can argue that case, but, I mean, the finish was good. The last few laps were really good. I mean, and not even just that. I mean, the rest of the race, there was some good side-by-side racing, and overall, it was a lot better than past Las Vegas races. Also, Todd Gordon, of course, crew chief for Joey Logano, said, contrary to the negatives I read on Twitter, why I hesitate to tweet, we had 19 lead changes among 9 drivers, and the top 4 cars finished within 2 seconds on a 100-lap green flag run. I think the racing was really good. We battled the 4, 18, 1, and 2 swap in the lead all day. So, and he's also got a great point. So I don't know what it is with this new package, because here's the thing. NASCAR has promised closer competition, and the past 2 weeks it has delivered. So, I mean, I don't understand why everybody's so mad about it. I mean, no, it's not going to be bumper to bumper, door to door for the entire race, but it's something about this package that these guys, they can get spread out at the beginning of the race, and then throughout the race, they're still a bit spread out, and then it gets to the end of the race, and these guys are so close together. So I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I think everybody just needs to relax. I think everybody needs to kind of let this play out and see if it works. And so far, it has worked. We've gotten the 2 closest finishes on a 1.5-mile track in the last 29-mile-and-a-half races. So, in my opinion, I think it's working good so far. So I think everybody needs to calm down, and I think we need to see how it plays out. Look, nobody thought stage racing was going to be good. And personally, I think the stage racing is exciting. Some people don't like it, but I think it's exciting. And at first when it was announced, I was like, man, stage racing, what is this? What are we doing? Breaking up the race into segments and making them stop, but it's been good, I think. So let's see what happens. I mean, we got Texas coming up in a few weeks, so we have Phoenix, we have California. It'd be interesting to see what happens in California. Of course, we have Martinsville there in between, but we got a few weeks till another 1.5 miles. But hey, we'll see. So I will get more into what I think of this package as we go through the weekend. So let's go ahead and start with trucks, which was on Friday night. This was, to me, is a basic race. I mean, wasn't anything spectacular about it. It was pretty much a Kyle Busch show, as expected, of course. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't think there was anything special about it. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I thought it was a decent race, but kind of what I expected. So, I know people were probably mad that he won, but I was expecting it. I predicted he would win, so I wasn't really bothered by it. Stage 1 in this race, Kyle Busch pretty much dominated. Brett Moffitt, at one point, he got close to him, thought he might be able to take the lead from him, but then he faded back, and Kyle would win that first stage. Some notable top 10s in that stage. Ross Chastain, he is killing it in this 45 truck. He is just running good every single week. He was 5th in this stage. And then you had Ryan Reed, who returned to NASCAR this week. He finished that first stage in the 8th spot. He was driving the number 17 truck. In his return, remember, he recently drove for Roush Fenway Racing back in, of course, last season. He drove there from, I believe, 2014 up until last year. So he was back in a truck. Brett Moffitt had pit issues at the end of the stage. I think he got the gun hose stuck underneath the truck or something, so he lost a few spots there. Now, different pit strategies here kept Kyle Busch from dominating the second stage, but he was able to find his way to the front by passing Stuart Friesen. Stuart Friesen tried to stay out. He led some laps. Kyle would eventually catch him. Sheldon Creed and Brett Moffitt would recover from issues. Yeah, Sheldon Creed actually spun. He spun in that first stage, and he was able to recover from that and bounce back to a solid position. In this stage, Ross Chastain was up to third at this point. He was one of the notables in that top 10. So Kyle Busch won stage 2. So we had the final stage here, and what I wrote here, Austin Hill had overheating issues, and he had a solid truck. I think he was about third or fourth at one point in that race. And yeah, I mean, he was looking good. Ross Chastain ran out of gas late in the race. It was a tough break for him. But pretty much nothing else major really happened. Kyle Busch would dominate for the win. And Brett Moffitt looked strong. Great performances by Sheldon Creed, Ross Chastain, and Ryan Reed. Ross Chastain was still able to finish 10th. So yeah, I mean, pretty much just a basic truck race. But if you really look at this order here, I mean, if you really watched, Brett Moffitt had a great truck. So you pretty much have to eliminate, if you're looking at, okay, who is the best truck regulars right now, obviously you have to eliminate Kyle Busch. Just pretend he's not even there. Brett Moffitt was really strong. He's been strong the past 2 weeks. Matt Crafton, he had a great run going last week at Atlanta, but he had some pit issues. He would finish 14th, but he was still up there last week in Atlanta. He finished third at Las Vegas. Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, both inside the top 10. So, I mean, they look good. No real word from Johnny Sauter out of this race. He was able to pull off a top 10, but I really didn't see him for most of that race. He was not a factor much at all. So very surprising to see that. They've obviously got some work to do. So let me go ahead and go through the race results. Of course, go ahead and rattle off the top 10 here. We have Kyle Busch, Brett Moffitt, Matt Crafton, Stuart Friesen, Harrison Burton, Sheldon Creed, Todd Gilliland, Johnny Sauter, Ryan Reed, Ross Chastain. So how about Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland finishing 5th at 7th? And it was brought to my attention that Kyle Busch, he cracked down on these guys and said, hey, you guys got to step it up and drive like your job depends on it. So, hey, 5th and 7th place, you can't argue with that. So, they definitely stepped it up this weekend in Las Vegas after kind of an off week last week in Atlanta. So, we have 11th through 20th here. Grant Enfinger, Timothy Peters, Natalie Decker, 13th place. Her best career truck finish in her third start. We have Corbin Forrester, Austin Wayne Self, Angela Ruck, Tyler Dipple, Anthony Alfredo, Jesse Little, and Brennan Poole. 21st through 30th, we have Jordan Anderson, Gus Dean, Josh Ryam, Corey Roper, Ben Rhodes, 25th. I believe he got in the wall at some point. Might have been, yeah, he was in some sort of incident. This was on Friday. So it's hard for me to even really remember what happened. But I know I saw his truck with damage at some point. So a tough break for Ben Rhodes. He was 25th. We had Jesse Uwuji, 26th. Jennifer Jo Cobb, 27th. Norm Bennon, 28th. Spencer Boyd, 29th, and then Austin Hill, as mentioned, he had overheating issues. He was 30th. We have Stephen Parsons, 31st, and Scott Stencil, 32nd. That is your truck race. So, yeah, I mean, Kyle Busch, another dominant win. They go to Martinsville next in a few weeks, so I don't believe, no, Kyle Busch not running that race at Martinsville. I believe Christian Eckes will be behind the wheel. So, hey, all you people who don't want him in the truck series, he's not going to be there in 3 weeks. So, tune in Martinsville in 3 weeks. So, Xfinity was, of course, the next day. And as mentioned, Kyle Busch was in the race. Christopher Bell had to go to the back. And so, stage 1 was pretty much dominated by Cole Custer. Led all but one lap. And Brandon Jones, once again strong. Brandon Jones has really stepped it up this season. He was fourth last week in Atlanta. He was second in this stage. John Hunter Nemechek was really fast as well in the 23. And Christopher Bell, he was able to rebound from going to the back up to fourth by the end of this stage. Kyle Busch had tire problems during the stage, early in the stage. I believe it was around like lap 15 or something. He had to come to pit road, and I believe it was a loose wheel. And boy, Kyle Busch was not happy. He went one lap down, but he was able to take the wave around at the end of the stage. So Michael Annett, Justin Haley, some notable top 10s in the first stage. Tyler Reddick was off pit road first at the end of stage 1, and Cole Custer ended up losing 3 spots. This, man, I don't know what happened to Cole Custer's car, but at this point, he was not able to get back to the front, I think, for the rest of the race. He was just nowhere to be found. He was still in the top 10, of course, but he was not able to get back to the front after losing 3 spots on pit road. So they did something in that car that he could just not get back up there with. So, yeah, as mentioned, Kyle Busch would take the wave around. And Austin Cindric, so stage 2, Austin Cindric would spin on lap 15 of the stage. He was off the bumper of Zane Smith. Zane Smith was behind the wheel of that Junior Motorsports number 8 this week. And Tyler Reddick, he was able to take advantage of that good pit stop. He would set sail to that stage 2 win. Kyle Busch, who would, of course, get back on the lead lap, he would rally back to third. Ryan Sieg, a great performance in stage 2. He was 9th. And pretty much at this point, I thought no one is going to beat Kyle Busch today. And I was right, because he had raced his way back, and it was going to be tough to beat him. So, the final stage. Lots of good racing here between Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick. This was for the win. These guys were just going after it, especially Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. Both these guys racing each other hard, slide jobbing one another. Just one time they came off turn 4, nearly wrecked each other. A lot of good racing here for second and third. But hey, that second and third battling would allow Kyle Busch to pull away and look like he was going to set sail to the win. But Brandon Jones, who I mentioned had been running well all day long, he would take a hard lick head on into turn 3 outside wall. Looked like he was trying to come down. I forget who he was trying to block. I think it might have been Custer that he was trying to block, and he just came down in front of him, and then his car just jerked back to the right and hit the wall very hard. A tough break for Brandon Jones, but hey, if you're Brandon Jones, you got to be happy with how he's been able to come out on fire at the beginning of this year. I mean, he has brought some really fast race cars. I believe he will be in victory lane at least once this year, because he is just on fire to start 2019. So they would have, okay, so this was overtime, I believe. Yeah, okay. So they sorry. They had one restart here. They would have another caution, and then they'd go back green. On this restart, Kyle was on the outside, Reddick was on the inside. Going into turn 3, they're coming to the white flag, and Tyler Reddick will get loose underneath Kyle Busch. He would slide up the racetrack. Big wreck, collected Christopher Bell, Zane Smith, and Austin Cindric. Pretty much wiped out everybody that could beat Kyle Busch in this race, which by everybody that could beat him, I mean pretty much Reddick and Bell, I think, were the only guys that could have beat him. So John Hunter Nemechek would end up moving up to second. Noah Gragson would get a third place finish out of this, but Kyle Busch would get away on the last restart and win at Las Vegas. 9 cars on the lead lap to finish this race. But, hey, if you were paying attention, you saw a lot of exciting racing for the lead late in the race. And a wild finish, too. So, hey, look, you can say what you want about Kyle Busch running these races. It was a well-deserved win for Kyle, coming back from that tire issue, coming back from a lap down. Hey, he pulled off the win, so hats off to him. 93rd career victory for Kyle, and another win at his home track. Take a look at these race results here. So your top 10, Kyle Busch, of course, won the race. John Hunter Nemechek. Noah Gragson, his first top 5. I believe that is his first top 5 in the Xfinity Series. He was 3rd. Austin Dillon drove the 10 car this week. He was 4th. Michael Annett won Daytona earlier this couple weeks ago. He was 5th place. Great run by him. How about this 6th and 7th? Ryan Sieg and Ross Chastain. Great runs for both of them. They were 6th and 7th place. Chase Briscoe 8th. Cole Custer 9th. And Justin Haley, another great run in 10th. 11th through 20th here. We have Ray Black Jr., Gray Galden, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick, 13th and 14th. Remember, they got involved in that wreck. Then we had Jeremy Clements, Josh Williams, Brandon Brown, Garrett Smithley, David Starr, and B.J. McLeod. Let's see, 21st through 30th, Chad Fincham, Austin Cindric, 22nd. I do want to applaud Austin Cindric. He did have some troubles today, but he did have a fast race car, so I look to see more out of him as well this year. 23rd was Timmy Hill, Zane Smith, 24th. Jay Olivia, 25th. 26th was Vinnie Miller. 27th, Stephen Light. Brandon Jones was 28th. Remember, he wrecked, but still had a fast car. Matt Mills was 29th. Mike Harmon was 30th. We had Justin Allgaier, 31st. Justin Allgaier had some, I believe it was some engine issues he had, but he had some mechanical problems. Came to the garage midway through the race. So a tough break for Allgaier. Then we had Jeff Green. This is rounding out the field. 32nd through 38th. Jeff Green, Morgan Shepherd, Bailey Curry, Stan Mullis, Josh Balicki, Donald Teague, and Joey Gase rounding out the field. That is your Xfinity Series results. Of course, we have Phoenix coming up this weekend, or perhaps ISM Raceway, but it's still in Phoenix. So, have that coming up for the Xfinity guys on Saturday. Now it's time to get to Cup. Stage 1, I thought was some good side-by-side racing. And Kevin Harvick dominant that first stage. Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson plagued by pit road penalties. Boy, was this controversial. So, Kyle Larson and Austin Dillon were both penalized for... Kyle Larson was actually penalized for driving through... crew over the wall too soon. And Austin Dillon was penalized for too many men of the wall. So, when they showed the replay of this, the guy who is supposed to basically catch the tire when the tire changer is rolling the tire towards the pit box, he's supposed to basically just catch it and put it back over top of the wall. So NASCAR added the rule this year that even if that guy comes over the wall, if his feet are in the pit box, if his hands are in the pit box, it is too many men over the wall. So basically, this guy reached down and had his fingers touch in the pit box, and they considered that too many men over the wall. So tough break for Austin Dillon. And I believe Kyle Larson actually got caught with the same offense, but he did not actually get penalized. I think they did not catch that he was penalized, but they showed the replay, and Larson's guy was doing the exact same thing, but he ended up getting a penalty for too many men over the wall. But yeah, so Eric Jones and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., man, these guys were just going at it, going at one another, side-by-side racing, making contact, bumping each other. I mean, they were just going at it, both inside the top 10, I might add. So they were having solid runs, but man, they did not like each other during this first stage. The top three off pit road here. Brad Keselowski took 2 tires here. Kyle Busch was second, and Kevin Harvick was back to third after winning stage 1. Stage 2, I want to add that the restarts here, even though we only saw, I guess, 2 of them, restarts were awesome. I mean, these guys were 3 and 4 wide all throughout the pack. There were awesome restarts. Stenhouse and Jones continued to go at it in the stage. I think this is actually when Stenhouse got a huge run off turn 4 at one point. Jones put the block on him, and Stenhouse just bumped him right out of his way, nearly spinning him out. So they continued to battle hard on the track. And Brad Keselowski, I mentioned he took 2 tires at the end of that first stage. He was able to hang up there for a while with the lead, which was very surprising. So Busch and Logano would eventually get by him, though. They would battle hard for the lead. They both almost wrecked at one point coming off turn 4. Kyle Busch he was on the bottom, Logano was on the top, and Busch pretty much nearly ran Logano right into the wall, but Logano gave way. Busch got the lead. But they would go through green flag pit stops, and Kyle Busch would surrender the lead at lap 52 for too fast entering pit road. So another pit problem this week for Kyle Busch, but he was able to work his way back to the lead lap by the end of the stage. This pretty much give Logano the stage to win. Some notable top 10s. We had Stenhouse Jr., who's running a great race. He was 8th in the stage. And the Hendrick cars, Elliott was 6th place. We had Bowman, Johnson, and Byron 9th through 11th. So, hey, when Jimmy Johnson earlier this week said, us Hendrick guys, we got a plan coming to Las Vegas, they figured out something. But they would not finish that way, though. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. So, final stage. Kurt Busch would actually, I don't know how he got to the front here. I didn't see what happened. I guess he just had a good pit stop or something. May have took 2 tires. But he was out front for a little bit, and he held off Kevin Harvick until 80 laps to go. Harvick would take the lead back. Kyle Busch was back up into the top 5 after that pit penalty at 62 laps to go. And then with 56 laps to go, Joey Logano would take the lead from Kevin Harvick. By the way, okay, so speaking of Kevin Harvick, I want to mention this. So Kevin Harvick, I mentioned, was dominant in that first stage. He was out front by, I think, like 3 or 4 seconds when that stage ended. Okay, so they took pit stops and they came back. Harvick did not lead another lap until this point, until 80 laps to go. So, whatever this package is, it is not allowing these guys to just pull away from everybody. Because I think if this was the old era package, I think Harvick would have just smoked these guys because he was out front way ahead during stage 1. I don't know. I mean, maybe something just happened to his car. He wasn't running as well. Maybe he was tight, loose. But I think without this package, I think Harvick would have just pulled away from everybody and continued to dominate. But this package did not allow that to happen. And hey, Brad Keselowski was able to hang on with 2 tires in the lead for a good while in that second stage. So it's something with this now that these cars are a lot more equal, and they're not, you can hang up there with 2 tires, and one car can't exactly dominate. We haven't seen that this year. I mean, perhaps Kyle Larson last week in Atlanta, but he had a pit road penalty which put him behind. But we saw a lot of different leaders at that race too. So I don't know. These cars seems like closer competition to me. But anyway, so we get down here to the last 56 laps. Logano, of course, took the lead. And Logano fended off Keselowski for a handful of laps. Brad actually passed him at one point, but Logano would come right back and pass him again, would hold him off. And Kevin Harvick was closing in on this battle at one point, but then he faded. It looked like to me, with about 20 to go, it was a 3-car battle. I thought, man, 4 cars going to pull in here. He's going to pass them both. It didn't happen. I don't know what happened to Harvick. He just started to not get fast, and the 22 started to speed up, and Harvick was not able to gain enough to get by. But the final few laps, Brad Keselowski was closing in. Logano was dealing with some lap traffic, but Brad was making a hard run to the end. Last lap comes, he's back by about 0.4 of a second. He dove into turn 3. Logano was on the top, all the way against the wall. Brad was down all the way to the white line on the bottom. Came right up the track, right in behind Joey Logano working off 4. He tried to make the pass, couldn't make it happen. And Joey Logano, for the 22nd time in his Cup career, would win. He wins at Las Vegas, his first win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Like I mentioned, this was the Pennzoil 400, and the Pennzoil car ended up in victory lane. So, hey, it was a calm race, but there was still a lot of good racing between, Stenhouse and Jones, and between, Kyle and Logano, and then Logano, Keselowski, and Harvick late in the race. There was a lot of good racing in this race, so a lot of drama late in the end as Keselowski was trying to close, and it led to a great finish. Penske cars won too. So, hey, those Penske cars, they are fast this year. And I know Ryan Blaney didn't finish up there, but he did have some pit problems. But I think Blaney also has a pretty fast team this year. He's hanging with those guys. He's running well. He just got plagued by some bad luck, and it was unfortunate, but I think you'll start to see him run good in the next few weeks. Brad Keselowski looked good once again. Joey Logano once again looked good. He led some laps last week at Atlanta, so yeah. Team Penske definitely making a statement here in these first 3 races of the year. So let's go ahead and go through these race results. Here is your top 10. We have Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6th place, a great run for the 17 car. We have Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin. Now, here we go, 11th through 20th. Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson was my pick going into this weekend, and kind of like last week, plagued by pit road penalties, but he did not have that strong of a car as what Logano and Keselowski and Harvick and those guys did, so I don't think he would have won, but plagued by pit penalties, but still came back for 12th. Eric Jones, 13th. Clint Bowyer, 14th. Paul Menard, 15th. William Byron, 16th. Daniel Suarez, 17th. Chris Buescher, 18th. Jimmy Johnson, 19th. Austin Dillon, 20th. Let's look at 21st through 30th. Matt DiBenedetto. Ryan Blaney was 22nd. But as mentioned, I think he's still got some fast race cars. Just, again, plagued by pit problems. We had Daniel Hemrick. Ryan Newman, the other Roush Fenway car, was 24th. So I don't know what Ryan Newman didn't get something that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. did get, and he was not able to run as good as his teammate. We have Ryan Preece, Darrell Wallace Jr., Corey LaJoie, David Reagan, Ty Dillon, and Michael McDowell. And to round out the field, 31st through 38th, Parker Kligerman, Landon Castle, Ross Chastain, Matt Tifft, Cody Ware, Reed Sorensen, BJ McLeod, and Joey Gase. Want to mention also the Hendrick cars. As mentioned before, Chase Elliott 9th, Alex Bowman 11th, William Byron 16th, Jimmy Johnson 19th. Pretty good step up from Atlanta. Obviously, Chase was 19th last week. He's 9th this week. I think Bowman was 15th last week. He's 11th this week. William Byron, I forget where he was, but 16th, I think, is a step up from Atlanta. And then Jimmy Johnson, a step up from Atlanta. Now, 19th, of course, 19th doesn't look pretty, but he was in the top 10 at some point during the race. I remember, I think it was stage 2, he was in the top 10. So, hey, I don't know what happened in that third stage, but his car did not run as well. But, hey, he said they were going to step up, and the Hendrick cars stepped up a little bit. So, it was a small step up, but they were able to improve on what was a poor weekend last week in Atlanta. So, we'll see if they keep it going into Phoenix. Phoenix is one of their better racetracks, so we'll see. All right, so we do have ISM Raceway this weekend. We have Xfinity on Saturday. We have Cup on Sunday. So I will be back on Wednesday to preview the weekend in Phoenix. That's all. Everybody have a good day.